Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again.
We got a lot of kids who struggle, runners, people don't want to be in the class, people will just leave, they don't want to be anywhere. They need something, and there's a lot of variables. Some kids can sit nice, other kids are just, throwing pencils. So what can we do? And we are very short-staffed as far as paras and things to, work one-on-one. And I'm the type of person that I don't want to have to call in backup. I want the kids to be able to sit with me and find other way. And working as a SPED para, not everybody does the same thing. It was a little bit chaotic, a lot chaotic. So I wanted to find something that could bring this down, making sure that our character education program was, strong or developing. And this came up, and I thought this will line in perfectly with what my kids could use.
Does that sound familiar? That's Annette, a teacher I coached inside my SEAL course a couple of years ago. Actually, oh my gosh, I think that was a little bit more than a couple of years ago now. But anyway, as I was taking another listen to what we had been discussing, I thought how relevant her experiences must be to you. So today I want to share with you the 4 must-dos for better classroom behavior. This is going to be a good one, so be ready to take some notes. So you started the school year full of hope and fresh ideas, but now reality is setting in. The behaviors are surfacing, the energy is off, and let's be honest, you've already started counting down to the next break. You don't need to white-knuckle your way through until vacation. What you need is a reset. Yes, a reset can happen anytime during the school year, so why not now? And the best part, you're just in time for my Classroom Reset Challenge. During this challenge, you'll be part of 2 live 1-hour workshops, one on October 21st and the other on the 22nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And yes, there will be replays. The first workshop is going to be focusing in on improving student behavior in practical and doable ways. And the second one will look at how some of these same strategies can actually help you eliminate teacher burnout. And because this is happening in the fall, we're going to make it fun with the supportive community, door prizes, creative challenges that remind you why you love teaching in the first place. So head over to theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge and sign up today, okay? theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge. It is completely free, and it is the reset your classroom and you deserve. Maybe you found yourself thinking, I just want to teach, but then you spend a lot of your day managing behaviors. Well, you might not be far off. Did you know that there's a study that was put out by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and they found that teachers spend an average of over 2 hours a week managing disruptive behaviors. That equals 14 and a half days in the school year. There may be days when it feels like your classroom is less of a learning environment and more like an emotional roller coaster that meets a WWE match. All right, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but maybe not some days. One moment someone's crying under a table, the next someone's shouting across the room, and meanwhile your lesson plan just sits there looking lonely and neglected. You're doing your best, but these behavior challenges, they keep piling on, and maybe you're wondering if you can actually do this for another 5 or 10 or 15 years. I see you, my friend, and you are not alone. So many teachers that I coach are dealing with issues that just might sound pretty familiar, just like how Annette felt. You heard her at the beginning of this episode, right? She's an elementary art teacher. She's a coach as well. And she also worked as a SPED para. and she sees some interesting things in her classroom and school, just like you have, and she knew that something needed to be done. Now, stay with me on this one. Most behavior challenges aren't bad behavior. They're big emotions in little bodies. And if a student is melting down or lashing out, chances are they're dysregulated, they're overwhelmed, or they're just plain exhausted. And you may be thinking at this point, but Elizabeth, I am not a therapist. And friend, you're right. You're not. You're a teacher. But when we start to understand and support our students' social and emotional development as it pertains to the classroom, we teach them how to be part of a calm, collaborative, and you know me, creative classroom. So let's talk about 4 simple, powerful, must-do things that you can start to do to reset your classroom behavior and, let's face it, your teaching joy as well. These are the same things that Annette worked through when we worked together all those years ago. So number 1 is about building a culture of care. Now, classroom culture, it's not about a bulletin board. It's not a set of rules that you post on your wall. It's not a catchy mission statement that you read on the first week of school. It's how your students actually feel when they walk through the door. So now the big question is, what does your classroom culture feel like? Is it calm and supportive? Or is it tense and reactive? Do students seem eager to enter your classroom each day? Or are they dragging their feet and testing boundaries the moment they walk in? These subtle feelings can reveal so much about the emotional environment that you've created. And that environment, well, it's either lifting you and your students up, or it's wearing you down. When you don't have a culture of care in your classroom, everything else can just feel harder. Students bicker, they shut down, or they act out, and you spend your day putting out fires instead of actually teaching. There's tension in the air, and honestly, you can feel it the moment you step into the room. But when you do have a culture of care, everything starts to shift. Students start supporting one another. They listen more, they help more, they smile more. That's kind of nice, right? The classroom becomes a place where they feel safe. They feel safe to take risks and share ideas and, actually learn. And you feel more at ease because the pressure of constant management starts to melt away. It's the kind of environment that takes teaching and makes it feel joyful again. Now, most of the teachers that I coach, they actually do have a caring classroom, but there are some pieces that might be missing. Maybe it's a student who just can't get himself into the room, or a shy student who no one even knows their name. The tricky part is that you can be caring. You can say you do actually care about your students and build a great environment for them. But in digging a little deeper, you can start to point out the parts that can be improved. I mean, we all can. And when you teach in a profession where you practically start over every single school year with a new group of students, it's important to give yourself that opportunity to really check in with yourself and see if the culture you are striving for is something that you're actually achieving. So I want to encourage you to take a moment and pause and reflect. Maybe even journal about this. Think about, do your students feel safe? All of them. Do they feel like they belong? Do they have classmates to work with easily? Do they trust you enough to share when something's going wrong? Do they know that mistakes are part of learning and not something to be ashamed of? These are the powerful questions that can just start to reveal so much about the culture that you're cultivating inside your classroom. Because when students feel seen, valued, and supported, they are way more likely to regulate themselves and respect others. All right, the next must do is that you need to teach social emotional skills daily, not just occasionally, not just every once in a while. Now, we can't just fit in SEL into what we do. We really have to live it. And let's be real here, no one should expect teachers to deliver a perfectly packaged 30-minute SEL lesson every week and think that's going to solve behavior issues, because that's just not realistic and it's not effective, not to mention you're already teaching a full load. I've seen it time and again, and I've even lived it too. You go through the lesson, an SEL lesson, right? The kids you'd expect are raising their hands and they have all the right answers, and the rest of the kids, they're distracted, maybe zoned out, they're fidgeting, or maybe you plan a beautiful activity full of journaling and mindful coloring, and then the same kids are bickering at recess the next day. The truth is, SEL can't just be an event. It has to be a way of being. Our students need to understand how to use emotional regulation strategies in real time in our classroom. And so that means giving them chances to practice before they need it. We don't wait until the fire to teach them how to use the extinguisher, right? Because here's what doesn't work. Waiting until a student is mid-meltdown and then saying, "Honey, just calm down." That phrase alone can spark even more dysregulation in some students. So instead, we want to embed small, simple SEL moments into our daily routines, like a rhythm game to start the day or a movement reflection after a transition. We can start to give them tools before the storm hits. I'll give you an example. Last year, I had classes of fourth graders come to me for an integrated arts class. That was, by the way, awesome. It was so much fun to teach that class last year. It was a unified arts or a specialist position that only lasted 1 year, unfortunately, but it was so much fun and fulfilling for me to do that. And during those classes, I embedded so many social emotional strategies for the kids to learn, including how to purposefully take 3 breaths to calm and focus themselves in the classroom. Well, this year I am living my dream of teaching math and science to 5th graders. And on day 1, when the students were getting a little chatty, all I had to do was say, "Take a deep breath." I did my hand signals that we had practiced last year, and the entire class calmed right down. And that wasn't a fluke. It's working with all my 4 different classes of different students that I'm teaching this year. And that is what really can change behavior. Clear, intentional, proactive, and explicit teaching of strategies that students can use in real time. It's not just reacting, but building a foundation that supports that type of emotional growth every single day. All right. Must-do number 3 is making room for creative engagement. Sometimes it's not that the kids are lazy. Sometimes they're bored. And when they're bored, behavior problems can pop up. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a circus monkey to keep your kids engaged, and I'm also not saying that you have to have your kids sitting in rows in order to do legit work. I do believe our kids need to learn those skills of how to focus and engage themselves in their work. What I'm really getting at is that there is a way to help your students engage with their work and with their learning, and that is through creativity and the arts. I've been working with arts integration since I was a student teacher back in 1999 and didn't even know that arts integration was an actual term. And when I did, I quickly jumped into getting my master's and my CAGs in arts leadership and learning. And as an arts integration specialist, I see firsthand how creative, hands-on, arts-based learning changes students. And other teachers, actually. And it's also changed me personally. Through my own learning experiences, I've grown so much as a learner and a teacher. Arts integration, it works. Creative engagement is so important. When students are active participants, when they're creating and exploring and connecting through the arts, they're more invested in learning and less likely to act out. And my mission is to make it simple and practical for you to use with the curriculum that you already teach. That's why when you join me inside the Classroom Reset, you participate in an entire module that's dedicated to creativity and play and the arts. Arts integration is a simple, but it's really a powerful way to bring life into your lessons. I want you to think about it as acting out a scene to understand character motivation, or drawing the emotional arc of a story, or using music to set the mood for writing. These moments matter, and they make learning really meaningful, and they also make your job more enjoyable. So can't beat that. All right, the fourth and final must-do to help with better behavior is to reset your expectations. Now, here's your gentle reminder. Are you ready for a little truth bomb? Because sometimes it's not the students who need a reset. Sometimes it's us. Consider, what are you actually expecting of your students, or even of yourself? Are you holding on to rigid routines that just no longer work for today's kids? Are you trying to be everything to everyone? Are you reacting from a place of stress instead of responding with some intention? When you start to shift your mindset, when you see behavior as communication, really, instead of defiance, you start to take your power back in the classroom. And you can create a space with more calm, more connection, and more confidence as well. Because your students don't need a perfect teacher. They need a present one that's willing to work with them and adapt to the changes that we're seeing, while also standing firm in what we know works. Now, my friend, if you have been nodding along with this episode, feeling that pull in your heart that says, yes, I need this, I need something to change, then let's make this your moment, because maybe what you're realizing is that you've been holding your breath a little too much this school year. Maybe you're carrying the weight of behavior challenges, your own exhaustion, and that quiet voice that's whispering, is this what teaching is really supposed to be like? Or maybe it's not a whisper. Maybe you've even said it out loud. If so, I want you to know that you're not alone, and you don't have to figure it out all by yourself. I created this Classroom Reset Challenge for teachers just like you. It's a free experience where we walk through the exact shifts that we've been talking about today, and a few more, to help you take the first steps to resetting your classroom. You can sign up at theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge, theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge. Now, here's how the challenge is structured. We'll explore how to create a calm, connected, and creative environment in 2 live 60-minute workshops. The first one is going to focus on improving student behavior. And the second day, we'll focus on eliminating teacher burnout. Yep, I said eliminating teacher burnout. So if you're feeling like, yeah, I'm ready for this, I want to feel better, I want my classroom to feel better, then just take that next step and sign up at theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge. It's free, it's simple, and it's designed with you in mind. And once you sign up, you'll automatically be entered into a giveaway. So that's kind of fun, right? You'll be eligible for door prizes on both workshop days, and you'll be invited into our special Reset Challenge community, where we'll have additional trainings, creative challenges, and other teachers who are doing this right alongside you. So go to theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge. Yes, the link is also in the show notes. It's free, it's fun, this is for you. So before we go, let's recap the 4 must-dos to improve student behavior and reclaim your teaching joy. Number 1, build a culture of care. Number 2, teach SEL daily, not just occasionally. Number 3, make room for creative engagement in your classroom. And number 4, reset your expectations. You don't need a fancy new system. You just need to take a step back and try something that's both simple and powerful. Oh, and let's not forget our friend Annette. Remember, you met her at the beginning of the episode. Well, after she learned how to really internalize these 4 must-dos, here's how things changed for her.
So as I've started to introduce this, I do see a difference in the kids. I try to be very intentional in general with, students who need different kinds of activities. And I see kids being more engaged with doing things that, are more personal. And I try to always stress that art, even if it's free art time where they get to do whatever they want, it should be something that's personal, something you want to either share with someone to give or hang up. It shouldn't be something that, I'm just going to scribble on and crumple and throw in the garbage. Let's do something that's a little bit more mindful. So I do see kids taking more time and thinking more thoughtfully on things. It's helped me as a person, and I definitely think it's helped, I know it's helped the kids. We've seen a response in there. Their regular homeroom teacher has seen a difference as when they come back. And I see it as making better people growing up, teaching kids to be more mindful and, thinking about their regulations and self-regulations. I look at the kids and I see, the connections we've made and the importance of them learning to look at their own emotions and learning to, try to figure some things out and what's going on. And, the kids that run the most or have the struggles the most, they don't in my classroom. And I believe it's not just a change of subject. There's a way I relate to them and I handle them, and this is just making me a better person and coach and, teacher, obviously. But I feel that I'm really able to connect to the kids more.
My friend, this is totally doable. So let's keep things going, shall we? Remember to join me for the free challenge at theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge, and I'll see you there. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.